Hey friends! All right, we are going to paint a very special artwork today. One of the many times that we are going to create one of these. And we are going to be focusing on sunflowers. Sunflowers is a piece by one of my favorite artists, by Mr. Vincent van Gogh. And I was getting ready to teach my Van Gogh lesson to my first graders. I introduce him to all my first graders. That is their first brush with him. And we learned more about him in second grade. My second graders did get to complete their work. And he is absolutely one of my favorite artists. I mean, I have my little sunflower piece here. This is from one of his paintings. My artist was able to replicate it beautifully for me. So I'm able to carry a piece of Van Gogh around with me. Van Gogh himself actually never titled any of his paintings sunflowers. It is all of us that have kind of adapted that title for him. And there are 5 different sunflower paintings by Van Gogh. He painted them quite a few times. When the super bright yellow became available in the 19th century, Van Gogh was one of the first artists to adapt it and use it in his paintings. And he created those in first time in 1888 and then later in 1889. And he presented those to Mr. Paul Gauguin when he came to live with him in the famous yellow house, which is why I have my house painted yellow. I wanted a yellow house like Van Gogh. But I still have both my ears. So we're going to create a small version of sunflowers today, but ours just won't be quite as fancy as Mr. Van Gogh's. We're going to do it in a much simpler version for you guys, using all of these toilet paper rolls that we've got laying around. We will be using a little bit of paint today. Now, with everything that I do, if you don't have any of the materials available, of course, just feel free to draw along with us and hang out and see how we're creating everything. To create the sunflower, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by tracing a circle on my paper. And I'm going to do it in the center, but, you know, if you kind of want to move it down and around so that you've got room to make a few sunflowers, absolutely not a problem. So I just happened to find a roll of tape so I could trace this. Makes it a little bit easier. We can certainly freehand our sunflowers, not a problem. And I'm going to use a brown. All of our sunflowers have these really beautiful neutral colors inside of them. And then I'm going to have my toilet paper roll that I'm going to show you how to shape into a flower petal. And then we're going to use the stamping technique that I showed us in a different video and just a little bit of yellow paints. Of course, you may have some different colors than I do. You may not have any at all. That is fine. But we're going to go from there, and I'm going to show you how to do this. So I'm actually going to trace the inside of my tape roll. I'm going to use the brown crayon. So I can go back later when this is dry and color inside of it. If you choose, I mean, if you want to sit and do it first before it's wet, that's fine. But to save time, you know, I'm not going to use anything fancy. I'm just going to kind of give it a little bit of color so we can get an idea of what it should look like when it's done. So there that is. I've already got some paint poured. In fact, I'm going to use my, spread it out here so I'm able to get it on my, so I've got a nice bright yellow. I've used some acrylic paint, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's what I poured. And then I've got a little bit of a darker yellow because, you know, sometimes you need a little bit of a contrast. I'm not sure if I'm going to use this. I might. We'll see. See where the mood takes us. All right. And then I've got our toilet paper rolls. We seem to be going through a lot of those during this pandemic, don't we? So what I did was I just simply took the ends and pinched it. And then I came down about a ½ inch and pinched it so that it would hold its shape. And that gave me this little shape right here. Kind of looks like a flower petal. my little football shape. And that's going to give me a really, really nice petal shape for my sunflower. And I'm just going to take it and dip it right in the paints. And I'm going to make sure that my edges are covered. There they are. And we're just going to start going right around the flower petal, or right around the center. And we're going to overlap the petals because sunflowers have a ton of petals on them. They've got a bunch. Now what I can do is every so often I can kind of take this darker color and throw one in there if I want, and then I can go back to my yellow. And it just adds a little bit of a contrast for me. So I've got something just a little different. And it just makes this little stamp to go all the way around in honor of Van Gogh. And in fact, he just had a birthday come around. Poor Van Gogh, on his birthday, one of his paintings was stolen, and all this craziness and all this madness. Just heartbreaking. But today we're going to honor him. In fact, I don't even remember. How horrible of me. My favorite artist, I don't even remember what birthday it would have been. So I'm just going to set this here on my tray. So we've got a completed flower. Now if you want to leave it just like this, you can, of course. When it dries, if you want to color your petals, you're going to kind of be getting into a lot of work there. But you can, of course, add a background when you're done. You can add a stem. You can just do whatever you'd like to. I mean, you've got yourself just a pretty little flower print right there. You know, if you wanted to trace another little, let's trace half of a sunflower there. And you can start making prints off of it right here.
Sounds like a stamp.
It is like a stamp. You are exactly right. And be careful going off. I don't have my messy paper here. So, you know, you're just kind of creating your own little version of sunflowers.
Ooh.
She approves. It just gives you something a little bit different. Definitely a different version of Van Gogh's sunflowers, but just something to brighten up. Those sunflowers aren't quite in bloom yet. They will be soon enough. And now you've got your own version that you can kind of decorate and hang up. So I hope you guys like it. I hope you like your little history lesson on Mr. Van Gogh. He's certainly one of my favorites to teach. And since I couldn't this year, I was able to impart all my knowledge and wisdom onto you. So do with it what you wish. Hopefully you go and learn a little bit more about Mr. Van Gogh.
Van Gogh.
Yes, she's already learned quite a bit from Mommy. All right, guys. I will talk to you next time. And I have even got some more Van Gogh lessons coming up. So stay safe, take care of yourselves, and I will talk to you later. Mwah! Bye!